There is a strange habit that many people develop without realizing it. They spend enormous amounts of time looking outward and very little time looking inward. They watch what others are doing, compare their progress to someone else's success, worry about how they are perceived, and constantly seek reassurance that they are on the right path. Their attention becomes scattered among countless voices, opinions, and expectations. As a result, they often feel exhausted, confused, and disconnected from their own purpose. Yet some of the greatest transformations in life begin when a person learns to turn their attention inward, not in pride, selfishness, or self-absorption, but in honest self-examination. There comes a moment when a person realizes that the most important work is not changing everyone around them, but allowing themselves to be changed. Many people believe that if they could only convince others to understand them, their problems would disappear. They spend years explaining themselves. They defend every decision. They answer every criticism. They try to correct every misunderstanding. But no matter how carefully they speak, there will always be someone who disagrees, someone who doubts them, or someone who simply refuses to see things from their perspective. The pursuit of universal approval is a road with no destination. The more a person chases it, the more elusive it becomes. Every explanation invites another question. Every defense creates another argument. Every attempt to satisfy everyone eventually leads to frustration because people are not united by the same experiences, values, or expectations. There is freedom in accepting that not everyone will understand you. The moment you stop demanding understanding from every person you meet, you recover a remarkable amount of energy. Energy that was once spent defending yourself can now be invested in developing yourself. Energy that was once devoted to managing opinions can now be used to strengthen character. Silence plays a critical role in this process. The world often treats silence as weakness. It assumes that if a person does not respond immediately, they must have nothing to say. Yet silence can be one of the clearest expressions of strength. It demonstrates restraint in a culture addicted to reaction. It reflects wisdom in a world filled with noise. A person who has learned the value of silence understands something important. Not every criticism deserves a response. Not every misunderstanding requires correction. Not every challenge must become a debate. Some battles consume more than they contribute. Ever an unnecessary argument steals attention from more important priorities. Every effort to prove yourself to the wrong audience takes time away from meaningful growth. Every emotional reaction gives control to circumstances that should never have possessed such influence. Silence protects what matters. It preserves peace. It guards focus. It creates room for thought. It allows perspective to develop. One of the greatest benefits of silence is that it creates space for self-awareness. Many people are uncomfortable with quiet because quiet removes distractions. Without constant activity, unresolved thoughts begin to surface. Hidden fears become visible. Unexamined habits become apparent. This can be uncomfortable, but it is also necessary. Growth rarely occurs through avoidance. It happens through awareness. A person cannot improve what they refuse to examine. They cannot strengthen what they ignore. They cannot change what they are unwilling to confront. Silence creates an environment where honest reflection becomes possible. Within that reflection, important questions begin to emerge. What habits are helping me? What habits are hurting me? What fears are controlling my decisions? What beliefs are limiting my growth? What kind of person am I becoming? These questions matter far more than the opinions that often dominate people's attention. The tragedy is that many individuals know more about the lives of others than they know about themselves. They can describe the faults of their neighbors, the mistakes of their co-workers, and the achievements of their friends, yet they remain unfamiliar with their own strengths, weaknesses, motivations, and purpose. Self-focus, in its healthiest form, corrects this imbalance. It encourages personal responsibility. It shifts attention away from blame and toward growth. Instead of asking why others are not changing, it asks how you can change. Instead of waiting for ideal circumstances, it seeks progress within present circumstances. This mindset transforms ordinary days into opportunities for development. Every challenge becomes a lesson. Every setback becomes a teacher. Every disappointment becomes an invitation to mature. A person focused on growth understands that life is not merely happening to them. It is shaping them. They stop viewing difficulties as interruptions and begin seeing them as part of the process. They recognize that patience develops through waiting. Courage develops through adversity. Wisdom develops through experience. These qualities cannot be acquired instantly. They are formed gradually through consistent effort and reflection. Silence helps cultivate these qualities because it slows life down enough for learning to occur. Without reflection, experiences pass by unnoticed. Lessons remain unlearned. Mistakes are repeated, but when a person regularly withdraws from noise, they gain the ability to evaluate their journey more clearly. They begin noticing patterns. They recognize recurring weaknesses. They identify hidden strengths. They discover opportunities for improvement. This awareness becomes a powerful advantage. Many people seek external solutions to internal problems. They change environments, relationships, careers, or circumstances, while carrying the same unresolved habits and attitudes. As a result, the same struggles often reappear in different forms. Real transformation begins within. When character improves, decisions improve. When decisions improve, outcomes improve. When outcomes improve, life changes. This process rarely attracts public attention. Most personal growth happens quietly. No audience applauds discipline practiced in private. No crowd celebrates the daily choice to become wiser, kinder, stronger, or more faithful. Yet these unseen decisions often produce the most significant results. A tree does not grow because people watch it. It grows because its roots continue developing beneath the surface. Likewise, people become stronger not because others notice them, but because they consistently invest in their own growth. The temptation is to seek visible progress before invisible foundations have been established. Yet strong foundations are what sustain lasting success. Without them, achievements become fragile. Without them, confidence becomes dependent on praise. Without them, purpose becomes vulnerable to criticism. Silence allows foundations to deepen. It creates room for conviction to replace insecurity. It encourages patience where impatience once existed. It develops confidence that is rooted in character rather than recognition. Over time, something remarkable begins to happen. The opinions that once felt overwhelming lose their power. The need for constant validation begins to fade. The pressure to explain every decision starts to disappear. You become less concerned with being noticed and more concerned with being faithful, less interested in appearances and more interested in substance, less focused on proving yourself and more focused on improving yourself. And as this quiet transformation unfolds, you discover that many of the answers you were desperately searching for outside yourself were waiting to be found in the stillness all along. There is a profound difference between being busy and being transformed. Many people spend their lives in constant motion, moving from one responsibility to another, pursuing new opportunities, chasing goals, solving problems, and responding to demands. Yet despite all their activity, they often remain unchanged. The years pass, circumstances shift, and experiences accumulate, but the person within remains largely the same. Transformation requires something deeper than activity. It requires attention. Specifically, it requires directing that attention toward the development of one's own character, habits, values, and purpose. One of the greatest obstacles to personal growth is distraction. Not merely external distraction, but the kind that causes people to focus on everything except the work that needs to be done within themselves. It is easy to analyze the mistakes of others. It is easy to criticize society, complain about circumstances, or blame obstacles. It is far more difficult to examine one's own life honestly, yet real growth begins precisely at that point. The moment a person stops asking, "Why isn't everyone else changing?" and starts asking, "What needs to change in me?" a remarkable shift takes place. Responsibility replaces blame. Purpose replaces frustration. Progress replaces stagnation. This shift may seem small, but it changes the direction of an entire life. Many people spend years waiting for ideal conditions before they commit to growth. They tell themselves they will become disciplined when circumstances improve. They will pursue their purpose when opportunities increase. They will strengthen their faith when life becomes easier. But growth rarely begins under perfect conditions. It begins in ordinary moments. It begins with small decisions. It begins with daily choices that often go unnoticed. A person becomes stronger not through dramatic events, but through consistent habits. Character is built one decision at a time. Wisdom develops one lesson at a time. Discipline grows one act of obedience at a time. The world often celebrates sudden success stories, but lasting transformation is usually gradual. It resembles the growth of a tree rather than the flash of lightning. Lightning attracts attention because it appears instantly. A tree grows quietly, steadily, and almost invisibly. Yet one lasts only a moment, while the other may endure for generations. Personal development follows a similar pattern. The most important changes often occur beneath the surface, long before they become visible. A person may spend months learning patience before others notice the difference. They may spend years cultivating wisdom before it becomes apparent through their decisions. They may quietly strengthen their faith long before anyone sees the results. This hidden work is essential because external success can never permanently compensate for internal weakness. Many people focus on changing their circumstances while neglecting their character. They pursue promotions without developing discipline. They seek influence without cultivating integrity. They desire recognition without embracing responsibility. The problem is that success tends to magnify whatever already exists within a person. If character is strong, success expands positive influence. If character is weak, success often exposes hidden flaws. This is why self-focus matters so deeply. It encourages individuals to strengthen their foundation before seeking greater opportunities. A strong foundation provides stability during difficult seasons. Challenges are inevitable. Disappointments are unavoidable. Setbacks occur in every life. The question is not whether adversity will come. The question is whether you will possess the strength to endure it when it arrives. Strength is not built during storm. It is built beforehand. The habits you develop today prepare you for challenges you have not yet encountered. The discipline you practice now equips you for opportunities that have not yet appeared. The wisdom you cultivate today guides decisions that will matter tomorrow. This understanding transforms the way people approach personal growth. Instead of viewing development as optional, they begin seeing it as essential. Instead of pursuing comfort, they pursue maturity. Instead of seeking shortcuts, they embrace the process. Growth often requires patience because meaningful transformation rarely happens overnight. Human beings naturally desire immediate results. They want quick solutions, instant progress, and visible evidence that their efforts are working. Yet, some of life's most valuable developments occur slowly. Trust develops gradually. Wisdom develops gradually. Faith develops gradually. Character develops gradually. The process may feel frustrating at times because progress is not always visible. There are seasons when effort seems disconnected from results. During those periods, many people become discouraged and abandon the very habits that were leading them toward growth. But transformation is often taking place even when it cannot yet be seen. Consider how foundations are constructed. Before a building rises into view, significant work takes place beneath the surface. The foundation must be strong enough to support everything that will eventually stand upon it. The same principle applies to personal development. Much of the most important work occurs internally. Convictions deepen, values become clearer, priorities become stronger, character becomes more refined. These changes may not attract public attention, but they prepare a person for greater responsibilities and opportunities. Another important aspect of self-focus is recognizing the difference between comparison and growth. Comparison is one of the most destructive habits a person can develop. It shifts attention away from personal progress and towards someone else's journey. Instead of appreciating their own path, individuals become consumed with measuring themselves against others. This creates dissatisfaction because there will always be someone ahead in certain areas and behind in others. Comparison distorts perspective. It causes people to overlook their own growth. It blinds them to their own blessings. It distracts them from their unique purpose. Growth, on the other hand, focuses on progress rather than competition. The question becomes not whether you are outperforming someone else, but whether you are becoming a better version of yourself. This mindset creates freedom. You no longer need to keep pace with everyone around you. You no longer feel pressured to imitate someone else's path. You become free to pursue the purpose uniquely assigned to your life. Self-focus also strengthens resilience because it teaches individuals to draw confidence from within rather than from external approval. People who depend entirely upon recognition become vulnerable to criticism. Their confidence rises and falls with public opinion. But those who have invested in personal growth possess a deeper stability. Their confidence is rooted in character rather than applause. Their motivation comes from purpose rather than praise. Their direction is guided by conviction rather than popularity. As this transformation continues, priorities begin to change. Activities that once seemed important lose their urgency. The need for constant validation fades. The desire to impress others becomes less significant. Instead, a quiet determination emerges, a commitment to growth, a commitment to learning, a commitment to faithfulness, a commitment to becoming the person one was created to be. And as this inner transformation deepens, outward circumstances often begin changing as well. Better decisions lead to better outcomes. Greater discipline creates new opportunities. Stronger character improves relationships. Increased wisdom produces greater clarity. The person who once searched everywhere for answers gradually discovers that the most significant transformation, the moment they turned their attention inward and committed themselves to the lifelong work of becoming better than they were yesterday. Much of human frustration comes from trying to arrange life according to personal expectations. People create detailed plans, imagine specific outcomes, and develop timelines for how events should unfold. They determine when opportunities should arrive, how relationships should develop, and what success should look like. Then, when reality fails to match those expectations, disappointment follows. The difficulty is not that planning is wrong. Planning is often wise and necessary. The problem arises when people begin believing they can control every outcome. Life has a way of reminding us that there are forces beyond our influence, circumstances beyond our prediction, and purposes beyond our understanding. This realization can feel unsettling at first. Human beings naturally prefer certainty. They want guarantees. They want clear answers. They want assurance that every effort will produce immediate results. Yet some of life's greatest lessons emerge from uncertainty. The seasons that appear confusing often become the periods that shape us most profoundly. The delays that seem frustrating sometimes protect us from opportunities we are not yet prepared to handle. The closed doors we resist may prevent us from entering places where we do not belong. With time and perspective, many people discover that what they once viewed as obstacles were often forms of guidance. This is why trust is such an essential part of growth. Trust does not mean understanding every detail of the journey. It means moving forward faithfully, even when the destination remains unclear. It means believing that progress is still possible, despite unanswered questions. Many individuals live with constant tension because they attempt to force life into alignment with their preferences. They fight against delays, resist unexpected changes, and become discouraged whenever circumstances deviate from their plans. This struggle consumes enormous energy. Instead of adapting, they resist. Instead of learning, they complain. Instead of growing, they remain frustrated. There is another way. A person who learns to trust the process approaches life differently. They still work diligently. They still pursue meaningful goals. They still make wise decisions. But they no longer demand that everything happen according to their schedule. They understand that growth often requires waiting. Seeds do not become trees overnight. Skills do not develop instantly. Wisdom does not arrive in a single moment. Strong character is not built through shortcuts. Everything valuable seems to require time. Yet waiting is one of the most difficult experiences for modern people. The world encourages speed. It rewards immediate results. It celebrates instant success stories. As a result, many individuals become impatient whenever progress appears slow. What they often fail to recognize is that slow progress is still progress. A person who becomes 1% wiser each day will eventually become remarkably wise. A person who improves one habit at a time will eventually experience significant transformation. A person who remains faithful during small opportunities will often become prepared for larger ones. The process itself is what creates readiness. Many people focus exclusively on the destination, while overlooking the importance of preparation. They want the reward without the development. They desire influence without responsibility. They seek achievement without discipline. Yet lasting success usually depends upon qualities formed during the journey. Without preparation, opportunities can become burdens. Without wisdom, success can become destructive. Without character, achievement can become fragile. The process exists for a reason. It shapes individuals into people capable of handling what they are pursuing. This perspective changes the way challenges are viewed. Instead of asking why difficulties exist, a person begins asking what those difficulties are teaching them. Every challenge contains lessons. Every disappointment contains insights. Every setback contains opportunities for growth. The question is whether a person is willing to learn from them. Life often resembles the construction of a masterpiece that is visible only to the architect. Individual brushstrokes may seem random. Certain sections may appear unfinished. At times, the picture may seem confusing or incomplete, yet the artist sees what the observer cannot. What appears disconnected may actually be part of a larger design. This requires humility because it means accepting that our perspective is limited. Human beings often evaluate life based on immediate circumstances. They judge events according to present comfort or discomfort, but not everything beneficial feels pleasant in the moment. Discipline can feel difficult, waiting can frustrating, growth can feel uncomfortable, correction can feel painful, yet each of these experiences can contribute to a greater purpose. Trusting the process means recognizing that temporary discomfort does not necessarily indicate failure. In fact, some of the most important developments occur during seasons of challenge. Muscles grow through resistance, wisdom grows through experience, faith grows through uncertainty, patience grows through waiting, character grows through perseverance. Without these experiences, many essential qualities would never develop. One reason people become discouraged is because they compare their journey to someone else's. They see another person's success and assume their own progress is inadequate. They overlook the fact that every life follows a unique path. Comparison creates unnecessary pressure because it encourages individuals to evaluate themselves according to standards that may not belong to them. Different people have different assignments. Different people face different challenges. Different people grow at different rates. The goal is not to imitate another person's journey, but to remain faithful within your own. Trusting the process requires confidence that your path has value even when it differs from those around you. This confidence develops when identity becomes rooted in purpose rather than performance. A person who knows why they are pursuing something can endure temporary difficulties far more effectively than someone who is merely chasing results. Purpose provides endurance. Purpose provides direction. Purpose provides resilience. When challenges arise, purpose reminds you why you started. Another important aspect of trust is learning to release the need for complete control. Control often appears attractive because it promises security. Yet much of life remains beyond human management. You cannot control every opportunity. You cannot control every outcome. You cannot control other people's choices. You cannot control every circumstance. Attempting to do so creates anxiety because it places impossible responsibilities upon yourself. Peace emerges when you focus on what you can control and release what you cannot. You can control your effort. You can control your attitude. You can control your integrity. You can control your faithfulness. You can control your response. These areas deserve attention because they influence the quality of your journey, regardless of external circumstances. Over time, those who trust the process begin noticing something remarkable. The pieces that once seemed disconnected gradually begin fitting together. Lessons acquired during difficult seasons prove useful later. Delays reveal hidden benefits. Challenges develop strengths that become valuable in unexpected ways. What once appeared to be wasted time becomes preparation. What once appeared to be failure becomes instruction. What once appeared to be uncertainty becomes guidance. Life begins making sense, not because every question has been answered, but because experience reveals patterns that were previously invisible. The person who remains focused on growth rather than outcomes develops a quiet confidence. They no longer panic when plans change. They no longer become discouraged by every setback. They understand that meaningful progress often unfolds gradually, and that some of the most important developments occur beneath the surface long before visible results appear. They learn to walk forward with patience instead of panic, faith instead of fear, and purpose instead of pressure, trusting that each step is contributing to a larger story than they can presently see.